Have you ever wondered? There are those people in life who walk around the room being very loud, chest out, bragging about themselves. They're acting super uberly confident. And sometimes this can be almost a little bit intimidating. But is this real confidence? Or are they just overplaying something? Because real confidence is not loud. It's not intense and not exciting. It's very humble, very subtle, and very peaceful. And compared to fake confidence, it's almost a little bit boring. So in this video, we're going to explore what true confidence is and why it grows in those moments we tend to avoid. And that it's also not absent just because we experience moments of low self-worth. I talk about people-pleasing, fear of abandonment, and what truly helps confidence to grow. Before we go on, a few words about me. Hello, my name is Hania. I'm not a therapist and I didn't study psychology. But I grew up with significant childhood trauma and I spent most of my adult life with a nervous system living in pure survival. And because of that, I devoted a large part of my life towards healing. Everything I share from my own experience, from a nervous system that learned safety over time. So take what resonates and leave behind what doesn't. So think about it. We live in a world of polarities. There's hot, there's cold, there's wet, there's dry, and the same goes for emotions, all right? So there's fear and there's courage. There's sadness and there's joy. There's anger and there's calmness. They're all on the same spectrum, but just in different frequencies. So what does it mean? Imagine there are two dolls. One is called fear and one is called courage. And they're both from the same lineage. They're like siblings. So when you go and process fear and you're very present with your emotions, courage is not absent. It's more like it's opening its loving arms for its little brother fear to be felt, right? So actually, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to feel fear. So how brave are you actually in those moments? The same for self-confidence. If you're present with the wounds of low self-worth, it takes so much confidence to be present with those emotions. It takes so much strength, so much bravery. And this shows you that actually the polarity, the opposite of the emotion where you thought it's absent, it's so there in those moments when you're present with a little brother or little sister of that emotion. And this is already where the secret lies. If you're truly present with your emotions, if you fully accept yourself with all that is, then you're really, really confident. So what is then confidence? It is the capacity to hold yourself with everything there is, with all your emotions, the difficult ones and the easy ones. It's allowing yourself to feel the full spectrum of life and of yourself and to be okay with that. So it's the capacity to stay with yourself, not to abandon you, even in those moments where we feel shame, where we feel little and insecure, and when we're so scared. So you can feel self-doubt and be extremely confident at the same time. Imagine the little dots, they're both present. So that's why true confidence feels very grounded, very humble, very peaceful, because you know the full spectrum of yourself and you're so brave not looking away. So let's talk about why giving difficult emotions space actually grows confidence. I mean, confidence doesn't grow just through positivity. There are people who say, you just have to change your mindset, focus on the positive, you know, and then they come with all kinds of positive affirmations. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with positive affirmations. But if you're going through a panic attack, right, or you experience tremendous fear and you just want to faint, you can't just focus on the positive. It's impossible, right? And then, to be honest, I was sometimes very uneasy when people told me this is what I should do. I almost felt like a failure, almost like guilty for feeling the way I do and that I can't just focus on something else. So, if a teaching tells you to avoid your emotions and just to focus on the positive, and then you can reprogram your mind, yeah, there is some truth in it, but not without processing those difficult emotions first, because otherwise they will haunt you back. I mean, when we think about that, most of our thoughts, over 90%, are subconscious. Do you really think that by focusing on something positive, they will just disappear? I don't think so. I do believe this is spiritual bypassing, and it doesn't help anyone. What it did with me, I felt even guilty and ashamed for feeling bad. It created quite the opposite with me. I felt, oh my God, I should know better. I should just, follow my affirmations and then my life will be good. But it didn't work out like that. So I strongly believe it's feeling those unprocessed emotions in a safe space, and that can be with a therapist, that can be through EMDR therapy, somatic exercise. There's tons of different modalities, and I'm going to talk about this in another video, that can help your nervous system to heal. But the main thing I like you to focus on your beautiful heart. And that heart beating in your chest is the same heart that was beating in that little boy or that little girl once. So imagine there's a little girl in her bed and she's crying, suffering, being very alone. And out of a sudden, an adult comes in, sitting next to her, not saying anything, not doing anything, just holding space. The girl would cry louder, not because the pain gets worse, but because she's finally not alone anymore. And this is what we need to do. We need to sit next to that little boy, that little girl, and hold space and hold her or him in their emotions. And this is how we can process them, by letting them finally know they're not alone anymore and that it's safe to feel those emotions. And that's the way out of it. So let's talk about people pleasing and that fake confidence I earlier described in this video, right? So when we experience low self-worth, there's two different ways of coping. One is where we feel very small, we adapt and we go into fawn, into people pleasing, trying to please the world outside to get that approval that we're worthy. And the other way to cope is by feeling very big, bigger than we actually are, because we're feeling actually pretty small. But we overplay it and acting super confident. And by putting others down and making them feel small, we can feel bigger. So we seek confidence through admiration and control. And funny enough, those two people tend to find each other in life, in relationships, like maybe friendship, romantic relationships, work relationships. They bond. It's a perfect trauma bonding because they both nurture from each other, but they both have the same wound. It just plays out differently. So when we look at this, both are categorized under narcissism. We often think that narcissism is just the malignant one, the ones that puts others down and feels in control. But actually, the other one, the people pleasing, is just in the same spectrum, of wound. So both lose themselves in this kind of relationships. So let's talk about the people pleasing, because this is something I can talk about because I've been a tremendous people pleaser in my life. And to be honest, from the outside in our society, they're actually kind of nice people to be around because they always do whatever you want. But the one who's people pleasing is silently suffering. It takes all your energy because by saying yes to the others, you constantly say no to yourself. But people pleasing is not a weakness, it's pure survival. Because when you say no, you lose connection. You're going to be abandoned. And when you think about it, as a little child, connection and community is the most important thing in order to survive, right? So the fear behind abandonment is the fear of losing life. It feels like dying. It's so intense. And that's why it's so hard to let go of it. When I wanted to stop people pleasing, I kind of hoped that when I say no, it just feels great. And I'm like, yeah, I choose myself. I feel amazing. But it was not like that. It felt terrible. So, how did I learn to stop people pleasing? So, saying no was almost impossible. The first thing I did was just buying myself time. I said, let me think about it. Or I have to discuss this with my partner, my child, my whoever, just to buy myself time to think about it. And then I told myself, wait 24 hours and feel into your gut, because this is where we actually feel our emotions and this is where our intuition lies, right? So wait until you truly know if this is what you want. And then I started to say no. And I expected the world to change and that I'm just going to be so happy and so confident and feeling so joyful by choosing myself. But this is not what happened. The reward is unfortunately not instant. So when I said no, I went through this fear of abandonment. It was so tough. I was sitting there on my meditation pillow, being in pure survival, not being able to do anything. There's different exercises that help, and one I like to share. So one thing that really truly helped me is putting a hand on my chest, on my heart, and saying, for example, fear, I hear you. I differentiate myself from you, and I bless you. And I said that 3 times after each other, because this way I acknowledge the fear, but also I create some distance from that fear. I am not my emotion. I witness it. And also, I'm not hating that emotion. I bless it because it was once there to protect me. The fear was there so I don't lose connection. So it was there for pure survival, and I wanted to save my life. So that is a little mini exercise that really helped. But there's different modalities, and also I highly encourage find a coach, therapist, wherever to go through that. Also EMDR therapy, this is like something where you have this rapid eye movement looking to left and right, really did a great job for me. But yeah, this is the only way through is through. This is the only advice I can give you. Sitting with your difficult emotions, sitting with that little boy, that little girl, and holding space with so much love. So choosing the other path, why it's so difficult? Imagine it this way. So there's one path, the one you always walk, the surface is flat, it's easy to walk through, and it's a very easy hike, right? And then there's this other path. It's like a jungle path. It's full of big trees and flowers and plants, and everything is like a cross. It's almost like you have to use like a huge knife and like cut all the grass and all the plants and everything that are in your way to walk through. So if you do that the first time, it's very exhausting. It doesn't feel like a nice hike. But if you do it the second time, a few of these flowers and plants are already gone. Maybe if you grow a little bit back, but it's getting easier. And the more often you do it, the better becomes that path. And eventually, that other path, the people-pleasing path, starts to grow, like the plant starts to grow, and it's actually, this becomes the uneasy path. This is like a nice image I have in my head that helps me sticking to walking that uncomfortable path over and over again until it finally becomes the path of first choice. So let's capitalize it. Staying with your emotions is the most crucial part, and it is hard and it's tough. And I'm with you. It's so tough. But this is where self-respect grows, where self-trust grows, and then where true confidence grows. And this is why confidence then feels peaceful, soft, humble, and quiet, compared to that adrenaline rush of fake confidence, where it feels like obsession, where it feels so intense, almost like you're addicted to your own brain chemicals. It feels almost like a dopamine rush where you're, yeah. This is not true confidence, because often we are actually addicted to the hormones of stress. That's why fake confidence can be a very addictive emotion. The same like fake love. Have you ever thought about it? Like when you have this neediness, like almost you need that love, like this next heroin shot in order to survive. This is not true love. True love is also very subtle, very peaceful, very quiet. So if this resonates with you, you're not broken. You're whole. You're so complete. You're so perfect. And you're so enough. But you're learning safety. And yes, that takes courage. And that courage means you're very confident. And you're not alone. I'm with you. And I believe there are thousands of people with us at this given moment. And if you feel called to share your story, please leave a comment below. I'm so happy to read, because we are here to learn from each other. Thank you.